When I was a little boy, I used to struggle a lot with my math classes. My parents would stay up with me late at night, helping me study the material. I would get frustrated, angry, and sad because the math wasn't clicking right away. I felt that I would never get good at math and that my brain wasn't cut out for school. Even though I'd get frustrated, my parents never gave up on me. They were there for me every single night, helping me study the material until I understood it. I remember one time in particular, I was studying hard for an exam. My parents helped me a lot in preparing. When exam day finally came, I found myself last in the classroom finishing up my test. I ended up getting an A on my test. I was happy because I knew that was a hard-earned A. But what made me even happier was when my parents told me how proud they were of me. It felt good knowing that my hard work and dedication was noticed and appreciated. Ever since we were young, our parents have always been there for us. They've taught us how to walk, speak, count. As we grew older, they witnessed our accomplishments and failures. And during each special moment, they were there to tell us how proud they were of us. But when was the last time you told your parents how proud you are of them? Or how grateful you are for the lessons they have taught you? I started thinking about this because I wondered myself, when was the last time someone told my parents how proud they are of them? Was it when they first left home to start their own family and career? Or was it when they graduated from college almost 30 years ago? Who last told my parents they were proud of them? Was it my grandparents? A friend? A coworker? I began to think it may have been a very long time since someone looked at my parents and said, "I'm proud of you." We've built a culture where it is abnormal for children to open up to their parents and tell them how proud they are of them. Perhaps you wanted to open up to your parents and tell them how proud you are of them and how much you appreciate everything they've done. But it probably felt awkward, maybe even uncomfortable. So what usually happens is that we avoid that awkward, uncomfortable conversation. We push it off so far that we probably avoid it until the very end of their lives. Growing up, my father had a very different childhood than many kids. At 6 years old, his life changed when his father left him and his family. He remembers one day walking into his house and seeing his single mother crying because she couldn't feed and provide for her kids. There were many days when my father and his siblings went hungry. At 6 years of age, he woke up realizing that he needed to step up as a young boy and help his mother out. He knew that she couldn't do it all alone and that there was no time to be a child. As a child, he was really good at playing the game marbles with the other kids in town. He started to use the little money that his mother had saved to place bets and make even more money. My father never lost the game. The other kids would run back home and ask their parents for more money so that they could continue placing bets to play against him. He and his mother would also go around town, picking up jobs and doing whatever they could to make some more money. However, it got to the point where it just wasn't enough to support themselves. Eventually, his mother decided to leave him and his siblings behind with some other family members while she went to go work in the United States. The people responsible for my father showed very little compassion towards him and his siblings. These people felt as if they were a burden and that they were forced to be there and help them out. They ended up abusing him and his siblings, both physically and mentally. He felt the days getting longer. He felt himself getting depressed. And instead of falling into this dark hole, he learned to dream while being awake. He recalls that after a beating, he and his brother would walk along the train tracks and look out at the highway full of cars. They would count the cars driving by and dream about what cars were his and what cars were his brother's. They would go back and forth with each other saying who had the most cars and who had the nicer car. And when they went back home, they tried to sleep early because they believed that the quicker they got through the day, the faster they'd get older and become adults. My father never really relied on anyone. He never begged. He just did what he could with the little things that he had. He saw himself as the reason why he'd be better in life. He ended up leaving that small town and moved to Chicago, Illinois. There, he met my mother and eventually started a family in his career. On a recent trip to Mexico, I noticed how generous my father was with the homeless people working on the street, doing whatever they could to make some more money. He was so generous because he wished somebody would have helped him and his family out when they were struggling. I think he wishes a generous stranger walked by and gave them a hand when they needed it most. One of the greatest life lessons that he learned was that there's no reason to beat yourself down, because life will do that for you. When it comes to school, my father tells me not to stress over things that are not in my control. He encourages me to study hard and not underestimate myself. And he pushes me to grow, to become a better person. Not too long ago, I thought about everything my father has done for me and my family. I thought about what he went through as a child and everything he has accomplished since then. One afternoon, I saw my dad working in his office. He had just got off a conference call and was taking the break. I went up to him and I asked him if he had a minute. I sat down and I asked him about his childhood and how it shaped him into the person he is today. I asked him how it influenced the way he raised me and my siblings. By the end of the night, I decided to fight off those awkward, uncomfortable feelings. I told my dad how proud I was of him and how much I appreciate everything he has done for me. I could tell he wasn't expecting me to say that, and he thanked me. I went to bed that night feeling happy, knowing that my dad felt appreciated, and knowing that I didn't push this conversation off for another day. I think more of us need to have these conversations with our parents. We should ask them about their lives, their childhood, their experiences. And we should try to understand how they try to make our lives different or better from their lives. And we should build a culture where children can look at their parents and say, "I'm proud of you." What makes you proud of your parents? Fight off those awkward, uncomfortable feelings and have that conversation with your parents. Don't push it off for another day, because if you do, you'll probably avoid it until the very end of their lives. Mom, Dad, I'm proud of you. Thank you.